Hello, everyone. My name is Scarlett Avila, and today we are going to be speaking with my group about behaviorist learning theory. We are going to have a panel. However, before we get started with the panel, we will let you know what is this theory so you can have a little bit of information and know more about this before we move forward. So let's get started. And first, we are going to start by letting you know what is the behaviorist learning theory. This theory is quite simple because, well, as its name said, this theory is basically an psychological approach that looks at how our actions are shaped by what we experience. So instead of focusing on what we actually feel or what we think, this theory studies what we can actually see, like our behavior. This theory also suggests that all of our behaviors are learned from our environment. This means by the people or even animals that surround us, mainly through a process that is called conditioning, which means that we actually learn by connecting our actions with its consequences. With this, I mean that, as an example, when we do something good, we actually get a reward, a prize, or something good. But when we make something bad, we might probably get a punishment. So, this is basically how the behaviorist or learning theory works. But today, we are going to be speaking about a specific person that is called Barhus Frederick Skinner. That's why I tell you at the beginning that we will be speaking about the behaviorist learning theory by him. And well, so you can have more information about him. He was an American psychologist and was one of the main figures of behaviorism. He also believed that human behavior isn't controlled by what we think or what we feel inside, but what happens after what we do. So, in other words, to make it easier for you, our actions are basically shaped by rewards and punishment. So, now that we know about him, if we join all this information together, he did have a theory and it's called operant conditioning. And this theory shows that behavior is learned and maintained through its consequences. We are actually more likely to repeat the actions, those good actions, rather than those bad actions because we don't like punishments. So now that you already have like a better idea of what is this theory, who was Frederick B.F. Skinner, now we will move forward with the panel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Matamoros. Welcome to our panel on behaviors and learning theory. So today we have three professionals here with very different perspectives who will help us explore this important topic. So let's meet our panelists. First of all, we had Scarlett Avila. She's a psychologist. Her focus will be on the practical application of these theories. So she will explain how behaviors help us understand and modify human behavior in daily life. Then we had Alejandra Ayala. She is a teacher. Her voice is vital. She will give us the real world experience from the classroom, showing how these theories are used to teach students and improve their student habits. And finally, we had Milton Acosta. He's a well-known critical and he's here to challenge us. Milton will focus on analyze the ethical debates and limitations of learning theories. So these are the experts for today who will give us today more information about this important topic. So, to start our discussion, let's begin with the fundamental question: what is exactly behavior? So, I would like to start with our psychologist, Scarlett Avila. Can you tell us more about this theory?
So, hello everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful day. My name is Scarlett Avila and I'm a psychologist. It's a pleasure to be here and speak a little bit more about this theory. This is a really nice and interesting theory by Skinner. And this theory actually show us that learning is not just about what we think or what we feel, and it's more about what we do and what happens as a result. With this, I mean that this theory actually focus on seeing what is the behavior of someone. Behavior is really important because based on that we can determine what are the next steps to do with this. For example, if it's a kid, if we see a bad behavior, we can see how we can tackle it. Also, we need to keep in mind that there are some concepts in operant conditioning that are the ones that I added there. So you can have like a better idea. First, we have reinforcement, we have positive reinforcement, and we also have negative reinforcement. It's very important to know this because we are familiar with positive reinforcement and punishment. But we also have a negative reinforcement. So let's get started with positive reinforcement. And this is basically to give something pleasant to encourage behavior. With this, I means that, for example, I know that we have a teacher today, and it's really nice because I know that she might be aware of this type of cases. If we make a positive reinforcement, probably we can take this example because a teacher usually gives a prize or a reward to a kid or to a student when they do something correct. Maybe if they ask a question and they answer correctly, she will give them a prize. We also have negative reinforcement that is basically to remove something unpleasant to encourage behavior. A good example of this, it will be like turning off a loud alarm when something get out of bed on time. We also have two type of punishment. We have the positive punishment and the negative punishment. Basically, the positive punishment is to add something unpleasant to discourage behavior. An example could be like scolding a child for hitting a sibling because it's not good that someone hits another one. So we will provide feedback. We will speak with this little girl or boy and let her know that this is not good. So she or he will not make this again. And we also have a negative punishment that I know that you are familiar with this, and is basically to take away something pleasant to discourage behavior. Most of the time, parents make this. For example, they remove a phone when rules are broken or when their kids didn't have good grades. So they take away this until they get the good grades. We also have shaping that is basically to reinforce small steps towards like a desired behavior. For example, this cannot only be applied to persons but to animals as well. So training a dog to roll over by rewarding them, giving like more food or a toy is a good example of shaping. So let's move forward so you can know what are like the strength and limitations of this theory. So first of all, we have that is scientific and measurable, of course. Behavior is observable and quantified. So that is the reason why it's measurable. Also, it can have practical applications because we can actually see this. We can apply some things to shape behavior in real life situations. As I mentioned, we can apply this to people, to kids, or even animals. And also, it's effective in behavior change because by this way, you can change the behavior of someone. We also have some limitations. Yes, it ignores mental state which in some cases can be like a little bit contradictory because many people said that we need to care a lot about how we feel mentally or internally. Also, it has some ethical concerns because, as you may know, excessive punishment or strict reinforcement can be like a little bit harmful or even manipulative. And also, it has limited in explaining complex behaviors because this type of theory cannot fully explain higher order behaviors like thinking, reasoning, or problem solving because this focus more on things that are actually internally. So, this was like a little bit of this type of theory. I hope that you understand. And well, I'm here to help you if you have any questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. I think your explanation is very well. Help us understand how the mind works with this idea. So it's important to know about that. I think the audience is clear, but remember the final we had, right? The questions of the audience. So let's move to real life. How is this used in school? So I present Alejandra Ayala, our teacher, to share her experience in the classroom. So Alejandra, tell us more about that.
So, hello. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Okay, so in this panel with an excellent expert panelist. Okay, so I'm going to continue talking about this important topic that is learning behaviorist theory by BF. Okay, as a teacher, because I have extensive experiences teaching in classroom and has a mother because I have two beautiful children. Okay, so if you see, okay, let's start. If you see in the slide, we have a key principles of a Skinner behaviorist theory. Okay, so behaviorist learning theory proposed by B.F. Skinners explain that learning happens through reinforcement and consequence. In simple terms, okay, that is people and especially children tend and repeat action that are reward, okay, and avoid action that lead in unpleasant outcomes. Okay, so one of the main idea is a positive reinforcement. Okay, so this is when we give a reward and increase good behavior. Okay, this could be verbal, a prize, a sticker, or even a smile. Okay, so when a child hears a great job, good job, excellent work, okay, after completing a task, they become more likely to do it again. Okay, so another concept that we have is a negative reinforcement. This is which in often understood, it doesn't not mean a punishment. Okay, so instead, it means to removing something uncomfortable. Okay, increase the desired behavior. For example, if a teacher stops giving an extra remains, one student start working quickly. Okay, so the removal of the nagging acts as reinforcement. Okay, then we have a punishment. Okay, so the punishment is which is used to decrease unwanted behavior. So, however, punishment, okay, is often less effective is the long terms because it may stop the behavior temporarily, but it doesn't teach what do instead. Okay, and finally, we have the Skinner emphasized that behaviorist focuses on the observe actions, no internal thought or feeling. Okay, so instead of guessing why someone acts a certain way, we look at what happened before and after the behavior. Okay, so the cause and effect. So in the next slide, okay, I will explain that is the application in the classroom and at home. Okay, so now we have a question. How can we apply this principle in real life? Okay, so let's start with the classroom. Okay, so one of the most effective strategies is using prize or small rewards, so such as token or points for completing tasks. So this encourage self-effort and participation. Another technique is to ignore minor misbehavior. Okay, so instead of reacting immediately when we react to even small disruption, okay, so we might unintentionally reward in the intention by ignoring small negative behavior, okay, and instead reinforcing positive behavior, we give students more effectively. Of course, behaviorist requires the clear rules and consistent feedback. Okay, this is very important because children need to understand exactly what is expected and what the consequence will be. So this is a consistency make a reinforcement powerful. Now, at home, what happened at home? Basically, is the simple principles apply. Okay, so many parents use reward charts or extra playtime has positive reinforcement for good behavior. So when children see their progress, they stay motivated. Okay, so we also reinforce values like sharing, kindness, and responsibility by noticing and praising them, and they happen as simple. This is very simple part, okay? Thank you for helping you, brother. So this is can shape the future behavior. And just like in the classroom, we should avoid give attention only when children misbehave. Okay, if the only time they receive your full attention is when they do something wrong, that's it. So they may repeat the behavior. So instead, we should give more attention when they behave well. Okay, so this is my participation about this important topic, and thank you.
I think this theory is very useful, right? And in the classroom. So for teacher, it's important to know about that. So thank you so much, Alejandra, for those clear examples that you provide us. It's easy to see how rewards and how punishments are used in the classroom. So thank you so much. So now let's look at the hard part of this theory. It's time for Milton, our critical. So Milton, tell us what works and what doesn't. So tell us your perspective about this theory.
Hello everyone, thank you for the space. I want to say something. Skinner offers us a powerful perspective. Behavior can be shaped through reinforcements in the classroom. This means rewarding active listening, correcting distraction, and making clear routines. And yes, that works. It builds habits, but it creates structures, but is that enough? I like to raise a concern. Are we at risk of making listening feel mechanical? If a student listens only because they expect a reward, a sticker, a point, a word or praise, where is the genuine desire to understand? Where is the spark of curiosity, the joy of discovery, the feeling of being part of something meaningful? What happens when a student listens only for the reward and not for the content? So, what happens is that listening becomes shallow. The student may appear attentive, but they are not truly engaged. They are waiting for the prize, not seeking meaning. So, and when the reward disappears, so does the attention. But if the topic resonates, it is stirs emotion, curiosity, and connection, and listening becomes voluntary. It becomes real, and that's when learning sticks. Listening is just a behavior we can observe. It's also emotion, interpretation, and empathy. How do we measure the moment when a student is moved by a story or when they begin to question an idea? Were those that fit in a stimulate response framework? A Skinner model is useful because it's especially for building routines and shaping habits, but it leaves out something essential, the human dimension, the internal motivation, the desire to connect, and the intention behind the behavior. We need to ask what motivates a student to listen to play. It is the external reward or the internal drive to learn, to belong, to participate, intrinsic. Mo- the motivation, the kind that comes from reading, is powerful. It's what makes a student learn in ask questions and remember what they heard long after the class ends. So yes, we can reward listening, we can reward it, but we must also nurture the desire to listen. Because when a student listens by choice, not by obligation, learning becomes deeper, more authentic, and more lasting. I'm not saying that Skinner is wrong. His approach has value, but perhaps it's time to complain it with theories that recognize the emotional, cognitive, and social aspect of listening, the connection, the context, and the meaning. In short, listening is not just a behavior, it's a human experience, and we want our students to truly engage. We must go beyond reward and speak to what moves them. So, thank you everyone for the attention, and Karen, thank you for the space to talk about the theory.
So thank you so much, Milton, for your perspective about this important topic. It's important to question these ideas and see their limits. So it's a pleasure to have you all here. So now we will move on the questions for the audience. That's about. So first of all, I would like to start with um psychology, Scarlett. So the audience asked, how can Skinner's theory be applied in real life settings, such as education or therapy?
Thank you so much, Karen, for this amazing question made by our audience. Actually, this is an amazing question, and I know that today we had a teacher that also told us like some examples. But to give you like another example that can be applied in real life is that, for example, teachers usually use positive reinforcement, like giving prize rewards, candies, or something like that, to encourage positive behaviors on students, probably when they participate, when they do homework, or when they do something good. So if teachers made this, they will continue to encourage their students to continue making good things. And in therapy, speaking in the psychologist part, this is very helpful because it helps us like to provide an accurate therapy to those clients or person in order to replace maladaptive behaviors like smoking, aggressions, and all those things. For example, a therapist might reward small steps toward quitting smoking or managing like anger calmly. So this is very helpful and we usually apply it every day. If you happen to have a dog and when your dog makes something good, you reward him, and if he made something bad, you probably punish him.
So thank you. It's a good answer. I think the audience now it's clear. Thank you for clarify the idea. So now I would love to continue with Alejandra, our teacher. So the question is it rewarding children all the time going to make them depending on rewards?
Oh, this is a great question. Okay, so the goal is not to reward forever, okay, but establish the habit first, okay. Once a behavior becomes consistent, okay, we gradually reduce eternal rewards and replace them with the intrinsic motivation like pride or responsibility.
Okay, Alejandra, that was actually an amazing answer. And I know that Karen is also surprised by your answer, and we really appreciate. Not sure if Karen would like to add something before we end.
Thank you. So thank you, Alejandro, for your participation. Thank you, all of the panelists. So that brings us to the close of our panel or discussion on behaviorism and art theory. I would like to sincerely thank you, our distinguished panelists, for sharing their experience and today, so to the audience, thank you for your active participation and excellent question, right? We hope this session has provided a clear understanding and how this functional theory shape our modern approach to learning and training. So thank you. Thank you, and please enjoy to the rest of your day.
Thank you, Karen, for the invitation. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you for the
you.
space.
Bye.